Hi Mitch, welcome to my YouTube channel. This is my 2020 Ford Transit van that I made into a moto van. This video has been months in the making. I'm going to show you the hows and the whys, why I chose this van, what I did to build it. So with all that said, let's roll the intro and let's get to it. So why a van? Truthfully, I've had trucks my entire life, but I had such a great experience with my friends down at Ride California and their Sprinter, it got me thinking. Other than the look cool factor of a truck, a van is actually more functional for me. I can change in it, which comes in really handy when I need a warm place for winter riding. Additionally, the bikes and gear stay locked up and secure, and there's plenty of room for my wife and bulldogs for our long road trips. With all these fantastic reasons to justify to myself, all I needed to do was find a van to buy. I have enough mechanical projects to drown my money in, so buying a used junker was not very appealing to me. I needed a van and a new one. My van choices came down to three manufacturers: the Ford Transit, the Dodge Ram van, and the Mercedes Sprinter. By way of deductive reasoning, the choice was pretty easy for me. The Sprinter is way more expensive than the Ford, and although I wanted new, it was much pricier than its competitive counterpart, so it was out right away, even though it is a popular option. Even though it looks like a smart car on steroids, I actually did like the Dodge van. The deal breaker was the fact that it was only available as a front-wheel drive, or at least when I was looking to buy one. That left me with the Ford Transit. And the one thing that truly sealed the deal for me was that the 2024 Transit van came with an all-wheel drive option. Additionally, the Transit and the Dodge were comparable price, coming in around 40 to 50K. But I live in Canada, and that right there is the biggest reason I went with Ford. That all-wheel drive just couldn't be passed up. So now that I actually chose Ford over the other options, I had to pick out which model that I wanted. This thing comes in 3 different lengths and 3 different heights, as well as it comes with a diesel engine, and it actually has a dual rear wheels if you have a heavy payload or if you want to tow a bunch. So knowing that I didn't need to tow anything and only had to have a bike, a toolbox, things like that in the back, it wasn't really going to weigh that much. I knew I was going to be able to get away with the F-150 option, which is what I went with. The short model was clearly not long enough to fit a bike, along with a separate front section for dogs, food, and travel room. That left me with the medium or long length. I attended my local dealer, and after taking some measurements, I decided I wouldn't need a bus and went with the medium length. As for the height, well, here's a shocker. I'm not a tall dude, so the medium height I can actually stand up in, and I still have probably 3 inches above my head in the middle of the van, so that's plenty of height. I didn't need to go with anything any taller. A diesel engine? Nope. That option wasn't available when I bought this thing. It was still another 6 to 8 months out, and I'm not a patient enough person to wait, so I went with a gas engine, which still has great fuel economy and is completely comparable to any other van on the road as far as these types of work vans or utility vans, and is definitely comparable to my truck. Additionally, I have a Ford dealer close to my home, so there's a convenience factor as well. The medium length has a 148-inch wheelbase and an approximate height of almost 6 feet. With those numbers in mind, I set out to plan the interior of the rear portion. I had the factory install a partition to keep the dirt and chemicals separate from the front occupied space, which further limited my space and availability to fit the things I wanted. Knowing I didn't have much space, I knew I'd have to put the bike in on an angle, so I planned around that. I also knew there would be a few items that I would want right off the bat. A chemical tray for, well, chemicals, a toolbox, and some storage areas. Looking into the future, I wanted to balance the weights on both sides of the van. Now, if the angle of this thing looks a little bit off, it's because my van is parked in my driveway, and my driveway is quite steep. So it's facing forward down the driveway, the camera's level, and that's why this thing looks off. But nonetheless, you get the idea. I'm going to tape out what this might look like to have some sort of little fold down seat. So it's something that with this beam that's right here, something solid I can bolt into, I can fold it down and have a little sit. Seems like a good idea. I knew I would put the storage bin in the front section opposite the slider, so it made sense to reverse it in the back section so the weights were somewhat balanced. With all that in mind, I drew up a quick sketch with my very limited artistic abilities and set out to cut some wood. The first thing I actually installed on this was a way to transport a bike so I could actually go biking before the van was finished, because like I said, it's been months in the making. So I swung for the fences. I went with the Risk Racing Lock and Load Pro. Now this thing is pure creative genius on their part. Big shout out to them. They're amazing people with an amazing company. And I've done a full video on this, a review and install, things I came across while I was trying to install it, problems that I had. I'll put the link below for that video, but here's a quick preview of it, and I do highly recommend you picking one up. I thought it would be great to have a system so easy to use that in the event I was hurt, even my lovely wife could load my bike if she had to. Enter the Risk Racing Transport System. Now I probably know what you're thinking, because frankly I was thinking the same thing. That's a lot of money considering good old-fashioned tie-downs only cost around $20. What about the installation? How much of a headache is that going to be? With the goal in mind of simplicity and the ease of loading and unloading, I searched out various options ranging from nicer tie-downs and wheel chocks to full-on rail systems. Looking at the other options, they all involved some level of installation, and I figured if I had to drill holes in my new van, I might as well swing for the fences. Once I had a way to actually transport my bike, I set out to begin building the rest of the area. First, I picked up a few rolls of automotive carpet from my local Canadian tire store. At 20 bucks a roll, it's cheap, but it looks and works perfectly for what I needed. It's easy to contour around, and using 3M spray adhesive made applying it to the partition a breeze. Next, I wanted to build a seating area, a support for the toolbox, and then an overhead bin for storage. Using 3/4 inch plywood and 2x4s, I had to measure out the space I needed and what was available, then just build the box. The toolbox that I purchased was rather heavy, coming in at almost 100 pounds, so I knew I had to build some strong supports for the toolbox to sit on. Once I had the frame built, I used the same carpet and wrapped the outsides to give it a finished look. Mounting the seat and toolbox are relatively easy. There are loads of areas inside the van that you can just use self-tapping metal screws that just bolt right down. I used the exact same process for the overhead storage bin, and they both turned out great. The chemical tray was from a website called Jegs and was around $150 including shipping. It's lightweight, looks great, and it will hold any and all the chemicals I would need for a few days of riding. Additionally, it has the ability to hold shop towel and some rubber gloves. Amazon offers up several first aid kits for a pretty easy price. There are a few other things that I threw in there, and I have a video on that as well. But having a first aid kit handy was as simple as throwing a couple magnets into the back of it and strapping it to the side. My gear hooks were the easiest and the cheapest part of the build. $10 and a few screws from my local Home Depot. It's a great place to hang gear for drying, and it's always great to have an extra set on hand. The gas can? This is an easy utility jug from Risk Racing. This is by far the most user-friendly and functional gas can that you can buy. For around $50 US, it's totally worth every penny. From the user-friendly spout to eye candy caps, it's a great addition to any setup. It even comes with a mounting bracket that's really easy to install. I'll be putting up a video on the review and installation, so be sure to check that out. Lastly, I picked up a few magnetic LED lights from Amazon. They were around $20 to get a pair of them, and they're fully rechargeable via USB. Because everything in the van is black, it can get pretty dark in there, so these lights come in really handy and can be moved around anywhere you want, easily turning on and off. They're a great addition to the LED lighting that's already in the back of the van. And that's it. That's part one of why I picked the 2024 Transit van to build into a motovan, how I built it, and probably some problems that I came across along the way, some things I thought about. I hope you liked the video. If you have any questions for me on any of the install, anything like that, any of the technical data, leave a question below. I'll definitely get back to it. I hope you liked the video. I hope it helped you in some way. If so, smash that subscribe button for me below. You know I appreciate it. Stay safe, ride safe, and we'll see you guys in the next video.